Imagine a place where the stone cries out for freedom, where the echoes of an indomitable people still resonate among the peaks. Here, among the harshest mountains of Molise, lies the last bastion of a forgotten epic, a sanctuary that saw the birth and death of dreams of independence from the most powerful empire of the ancient world. If you think history is just dust in books, prepare to have your mind changed. There is a corner of Italy, wild and mysterious, where history is not just a distant tale, but a breath of wind that caresses ancient ruins, a ray of sunshine that illuminates the majesty of ancient stones. We are talking about the Samnites, a proud warrior people who never bowed down, and of their most sacred sanctuary, Pietrabbondante. This is no mere archaeological site, it is a natural stage where one of the most epic and moving sagas in our history unfolded. A place where pride, resilience, and wild beauty merge, leaving you breathless. If you're ready to discover the beating heart of an ancient nation that challenged Rome, follow us on this journey. To truly understand Pietrabbondante, we must first immerse ourselves in the soul of the Samnites. They were not just any people. They were shepherds and warriors, mountain people, accustomed to hardship and shaped by a harsh nature. Their identity was inextricably linked to the land, to their valleys, to the peaks that protected their settlements. They were not an empire, they did not aspire to conquer the world, but they were ready to shed the last drop of blood to defend their freedom and their way of life. Their epic is not made up of great victories on the battlefields that changed the course of the world, but of a stubborn resistance, of an inflexible dignity that made them unique in the panorama of the ancient Mediterranean. Think David versus Goliath, but on a much larger and more enduring scale. For centuries, the Samnites were a thorn in Rome's side, an insurmountable obstacle to its southern expansion, a constant challenge to its supposed invincibility. And at the center of this resistance, like a beating heart in a warrior's chest, stood Pietrabbondante. Imagine arriving here for the first time. You leave the car, start walking, and as you climb, the modern world fades away. Around you, only the silence of the mountain, interrupted by the rustling of the wind through the leaves of the trees, the distant song of a bird. Then suddenly the theatre emerges majestically. It is not a theatre like those found in Roman cities. It does not pretend to display luxury and entertainment. This is a stone colossus carved into the mountain itself, almost as if it were a natural extension of it. Its stones, crafted with incredible precision for the time, seem to breathe the ancient energy of those who shaped them. The Samnites didn't build for pleasure or fleeting grandeur, they built out of necessity, for worship, for their community, and the theatre of Pietrabbondante was the beating heart of their nation. Thousands of warriors, clad in bronze and leather armor and carrying colorful shields, gathered here, not to watch comedy or tragedy, but to discuss their fate, to make decisions that would shape the lives of all. Imagine the leaders of the various Samnite tribes, wise and brave men, sitting on those steps. And these aren't just any steps, they are anatomical seats, hand carved from stone to perfectly fit the shape of the human body. An incredible detail, testifying to the care, mastery, and respect the Samnites had for those who frequented that sacred place. These seats, now silent and intact, were silent witnesses to a glorious past, to heated debates, solemn promises, and sadly also to desperate decisions. From those steps, the gaze sweeps across endless valleys, a breathtaking panorama that embraces the horizon until it is lost in the mists of the distance. This epic setting, where pristine nature merged with human ingenuity, was no coincidence. The choice to build the theater on that elevated spot was not merely defensive or aesthetic, it was strategic and spiritual. From there, the Samnites could survey their lands, feel the breath of their homeland, and perhaps invoke the protection of the deities they believed resided right among those peaks. Here, the most important decisions were made: whether to form an alliance, whether to declare war, how to resist Rome's inexorable advance. Each decision echoed among those stones, carrying a weight and solemnity we can only imagine today. The threat from Rome was not an abstract problem for the Samnites. It was a tangible reality, advancing step by step, stealing lands, forcing alliances, threatening their very existence. For the Samnites, freedom wasn't a political concept, but the air they breathed, the water they drank, the land they cultivated. Losing freedom meant losing everything. History remembers them as an indomitable people who faced the Roman legions in three bloody wars known as the Samnite Wars between the 4th and 3rd centuries BC. Three times they were defeated, but never completely subdued, and each time they recovered, the spark of rebellion reignited, fueled by a pride that seemed never to die. This atmosphere, filled with unquenchable pride, still permeates Pietrabbondante today. It reflects the tenacity of a people who never completely surrendered. Despite defeats, losses, and isolation, the Samnites continued to believe in their cause and defend their values, and they did so through their religious architecture. Next to the theater, the foundations of temples once stood and still stand, seemingly challenging the heavens. They were built with meticulous care, not as grand as Roman or Greek temples, but with a solidity, sobriety, and functional perfection that revealed their character. These temples were not just buildings, they were raised high as silent invocations to the gods. Each stone laid was a prayer, an offering, a request for protection for their homeland and for the strength to continue fighting. These sacred places were the core of their identity, the nerve center of their faith and cohesion. They were not just physical spaces, but true meeting points between the earthly and the divine, where the Samnites sought answers, hope, and the inner strength to face an increasingly powerful and organized enemy. It was here that their pact with the gods, with the land, with their own history was renewed. These were places where bonds between the different tribes were cemented, where belonging to a community was celebrated, to a nation that, despite everything, refused to kneel. This resilience, this fighting spirit, was not just a military issue, it was a deep sense of cultural identity, rooted in their land and their traditions. Pietrabbondante, isolated and imposing, became a symbol, a beacon in the darkness of the Samnite struggle. Not just a sanctuary, but the last bastion of Italian freedom, a place where the determination of an entire people was crystallized in stone, forever etched in time. Despite Rome's final victory, the message of Pietrabbondante lives on. Visiting this place means taking a true journey back in time, not only to admire the ruins, but to sense the soul of a people, to remember the deeds of men and women who never gave up, who fought to the last for their identity and their land. Pietrabbondante is much more than a simple archaeological site. It is a monument to human resilience, an eternal hymn to freedom that still resonates today among its thousand-year-old stones. It is a testament to how, even in the face of overwhelming force, the human spirit can find the strength to resist, to defend what it believes in. It's a place that changes you, that makes you reflect on the profound meaning of freedom and the courage of those who fought for it. A place where history isn't just something to read, but to feel, to live, to breathe. If the history of Pietrabbondante and the Samnites has fascinated you, don't miss our next video on another mystery of Molise.